everyone. We are here today in Clifton Santiago's shop. So Clifton, hi Clifton,
Hello.
is a sculptor and he is known for working in wood, but he has worked in a lot of other mediums as well. So we're going to learn more about Clifton and kind of see a little bit about his workshop, and he can tell us more about the process he takes to make his work.
Hello. Welcome to my shop. And as Mindy said, I'm known for the wood. I've worked in everything. I've worked in stone, steel, cast, and done all sorts of things like that. For the last few years, people have known me for wood, and because of that, they keep giving me wood. The piece that Mindy first showed you is a piece that somebody gave me just recently, and I've been fooling around with it. It keeps. One night, actually, it kept me up at night. I was dreaming about it and had to think in terms of what this is going to turn into. It won't look anything like it does now.
Cool.
Anyway, working in wood, you need a shop with, as you can tell, a lot of material, a lot of tools. It's drills and planes and saws, all that sort of stuff. Since I'm carving, I tend to use hand tools and power tools. As far as power tools, I have a lot of these grinders, and each one has a different head on it. I have a collection of them.
Yeah, he has a whole bunch down
With
here.
each one has a different head. They all do different tasks, and here's an example. You can see where I was starting to shape this piece by carving something out. You can see how something like that is able to shape it out. That's not the only way I work. In fact, I have a lot of brass and gouges, and a gouge is something that you would use to carve, and a hand work you'd be working.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about that, with a really sharp gouge, you can get a finished surface on it. It's so smooth that if you want something with a texture, you can create a texture with that. But it's also, I found that I can move almost as much wood with a gouge as I can with a power tool. It's not quite the same, but it's pretty fast. So there's a lot of different tools, and one of the techniques I use, which is when we go inside, I can show you some of that, which is the wood is actually smaller pieces that I'll laminate together.
Okay.
You need the clamps for that. I've got plenty of clamps. Tool chest, I've got plenty of tools. Each tool is a little different, creates a different piece, and some of them, when you get into really fine details, something like this, which is kind of a Dremel type of tool, that will do very fine work. In fact, that's a bigger tip on there. I have a drawer full of really, very, very tiny little tips.
Oh my gosh!
That you would use for that. In fact, that's even not the smallest. You get into these tiny little things.
Wow!
So you can create very small details. And then there's all sorts of other stuff that's an amazing tool.
That's really cool looking.
Yeah, they make these in multiple sizes and multiple things, but if you touch it, it's like, ooh.
Yeah.
You have to be careful with that one.
Neat.
In fact, here's a piece that I had laminated together with different pieces of wood. This is actually cut off of another piece, so you can see how you use different woods, and I use the different woods to create different colors as well as a pattern. This particular piece, which I'll show you inside, there's a reason that I use this stripe.
Okay,
I'll tell you about that later.
Great.
The shop space it's a little cramped, but the other part of that is it's small enough that I can keep it hot or cool depending on the weather.
Yeah.
So I have two air conditioning / heating units in it.
Oh, great! So you're out here all year round.
All year round.
Okay.
The last studio that I rented was not. It had heat, sort of.
Okay.
And air, not at all. So through the summer, I really couldn't work. So
Yeah,
this is a lot better, even though that was a larger space, but this is a usable space, and it does what I need.
Great.
And the other part is the commute is great.
Yeah, right in your backyard.
Out the back
Perfect.
door. Yeah. In fact, for this time of the virus here and people not working, if I had been in my other studio or renting a space, I wouldn't have been able to work.
Right.
So this was really great. It's like it gives me a way to work when I'm, away from everybody and can work here on my own.
Yes.
And as you just looking around, you get an idea of the number of tools and materials.
Yeah, you have so much.
Everywhere.
Organized so nicely.
And, well,
really great.
it doesn't feel that organized.
It feels organized to me.
When I first set it up, it was much more organized than it is now.
Wow.
It slowly kind of gets out of.
Well, this is great. Well, how about we go in and see
we'll go inside
some of your pieces that are created with your tools.
Yeah.
All right. So I see your piece here you were talking about.
Yes, this is one that this particular piece was done laminating different types of wood together to create the striped pattern that runs down this piece.
Yeah.
And there's a particular piece and reason for that. This piece I titled Lady of the Lake, and that is because one of the things that's always fascinated me is the old wooden boats, like in the 20s, they made these absolutely gorgeous boats.
Mm-hmm.
And they all had a pattern of ribbing that ran through them. Usually it wasn't necessarily different woods, but it would be wood and brass usually, but it still created that image of the stripes.
Yeah.
So this one is like, you can see the lady in it and the stripes there. I'm talking about how I would laminate wood together. This is a good example of that. Is this particular piece was all just slab wood that was all laminated together, and each small piece is laminated together. And since this was created to work with this old pre-Civil War dresser, there's a slight change in this one than how I normally work. Normally, all of my grains would run in one direction. Here, I did not. When you don't do that, you get grains running this way and that way.
Okay.
It creates, they grow, expand and contract at different rates. So you will get a little bit of things, like you can just kind of feel there's a slight thing you can catch your nails on there.
Okay.
That, to me, was fine with this particular piece because the what it's sitting on already does that. It's already an old piece which got these cracks and opening, closing things.
Yes.
That creates a secondary problem when you're working with wood. When I laminate it all up together, you just laminate it, and that's all well and good. Everything stays together perfect. When you do this, since they're moving at different rates, inside of this is buried all sorts of screws, plugs, things to hold it together. Because I know that is a weakness there. So that created the secondary problem of working on this. Was I would put some screws in here to hold it, and then when you start grinding down, you have to remember where they are and not go too far.
Oh my gosh.
So that was another part of this piece. And then just a secondary thing on this one is that the wood on this is poplar.
Okay.
Poplar, when you first start working on it, what is brown now would look almost green, and it would be almost white over here.
Oh, wow.
A lot of people look at that and go, oh, that's kind of an ugly wood. So working with this, I had to keep in mind what it was going to look like a few years later as you're imagining. When it first finished, they almost looked like just blonde from top to bottom.
Yeah,
but I knew I was going to have this stripy sort of pattern happening there.
That's great.
And the same thing, this piece over here has a lot of people will remove the sapwood.
Okay.
This is the sapwood, and I use that for a secondary to create that effect of there's almost like a flames coming back from here, from you got the darker wood here, and I know this is going to remain a lighter wood like it does, and it creates that. It really kind of adds to that effect of these hands on the face.
Yeah.
Right.
So cool.
And then you have there's a smaller piece with some walnut that is basically that is what they call spalled, which means that the wood actually starts. There's like a fungus growing in it.
Oh. Okay.
And it creates these wild patterns on it.
That's so cool looking.
And so that was a smaller piece. And again, somebody gave me a piece of wood.
So this is the walnut.
Yeah.
And
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I said walnut. This is maple.
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 Okay. And what's
And this is that is walnut.
Oh, okay. Okay.
The bottom piece is walnut.
Cool.
The piece that's sitting in it is not. And that was a small piece that, I finished it, and then I was like, I just didn't want to stick it on a standard base. I kind of needed to do something a little different for the base.
Yeah.
So this one turned into something a little different.
So what is your inspiration when you're thinking about the figures that you're creating? How does this come to you?
Each piece has a different. This particular piece was this was an environmental piece. This one really spoke to me about. I think because I started with a round, which is a big piece of walnut that's round, and you can kind of see on the side of it how the round here. So
it
it
was round like that.
Spoke to me of being kind of earth-like. So this
okay.
this is called tierra. So it's the Spanish word for earth. When I started working on it, it started to speak to me about being this kind of Mother Earth, and as a result of that, her head came forward, her hands came up. It became rather. People get right away that it's not a happy.
Yes,
happy
right.
And then, I basically cut off her foot and turned it into a tubular shape here, which is kind of representing what we're doing to the earth. Sucking the life out of it is blowing into her face, and the exhaust is blowing out the back.
Gotcha.
So it became very much an environmental piece.
Cool.
I have 3 pieces up at Creative York right now.
Yes.
One of them is called Two Sides, and that particular piece came out of a conversation I had with one of my brothers. We're at polar opposites on the political theme. So we both discuss things, and we each see it totally different.
Yeah.
So that particular piece, one side has basically, it's a piece of maple again, but that piece, one side's got wormholes, hunks out of it. The actual surface has got some roughness to it. And then you flip it around, and the other side is all cleaned up and smooth.
Yeah.
It's also, if you look at it, it is grounded. It reaches down to the ground. From the other side, what looks like something is just kind of looping, and it doesn't connect to. It's not connected. So we basically agreed that we. Somewhere down the road, we'll find out which one of us was which side of it.
Yeah, right.
But that piece, that kept me up for nights, and that was I came up with a solution to that one.
What about this guy over here? This is interesting.
That one is Icarus, and that one. Again, when you're working with something, a solid piece like that, it sometimes changes due to the wood itself. I had no idea when I started working on this that there was this inside there was this basically rotten spot here.
Oh, okay.
I had planned on this being, again, carved in much deeper and much more realistic. And when I hit that, I knew that my whole plan had to change drastically. So, again, I went to the sapwood as another solution, just like I did that piece over there. First off, it creates my head.
Yeah.
And the other thing it does is it creates the illusion of a hand coming around the knee here, which is not there. It works because the material was there, and I was able to carve and create that, which is not there. The other hand is totally carved up there.
Yeah. That's great.
So.
And what kind of wood is this?
That's another piece of walnut, and then the laminated wood is
Okay.
some of Peter Danko's
Peter
scrap
Danko.
today.
Some scrap wood in there. Yes, as we talked about. You have a piece at Creative Work that has a little bit of scrap in Peter's too,
Yeah.
so we recognize. Yeah.
Up here is an example of when I'm working laminating and everything's flowing in the same direction. You see here, I don't have to have any sort of screws or anything. These pieces, as they come down, you can actually see the joints, but they're all going in the same direction. All the wood flows in the same direction. The same thing here with the parts that come down.
Okay.
So that it doesn't have that capability that will have to kind of open and close.
Okay. That's great. Yeah, I recognize these. We've had these in too.
Yeah.
Before. That's great.
And for the only thing I've done lately on a lighter is, I don't know if you can see this one here. So the light's enough.
Yeah, here, that's a good.
This one is one that I did simply. I was doing so many kind of heavy pieces that are more. I just needed to do something kind of simple and innocent, I guess.
Yeah.
It almost, it's like a little Buddha belly thing
so it was like
happening
a little
there.
Buddha frog or something.
Yeah, right. So that one, and then you have this particular piece this piece is basically about a child, so that it has a childishness to it because of that, and. Yeah, I have a couple of those that are like, you just feel like they're going to get up and walk away.
Yeah,
walk away.
it's fun.
Yeah, and I do have art of other people's around the house, so that's.
Yeah, we recognize a bunch of pieces here.
Yeah, and.
We certainly recognize a Filio we had on a tour.
Yeah.
Great. What about the piece that's hanging suspended here? That's something you created as well?
Yeah, that one I did years ago. That one is called Midnight.
Okay.
It was designed to hang like that, and I have lived in different places and never had the space for it. This is the first time I can hang it so you can see it from two sides.
That's great.
So that was good. I guess I made it years ago for this space.
For that, it's perfect there. I love it.
Yeah.
It really gets your attention.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for having us in your home.
Thanks for coming.
For showing your shop.